Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. For who's new or who don't know me, my name is daunting. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at daunting. But yeah, I'm a computer science student, or I'm a master's student next year. So yeah, today I'm going to be reacting to a video by, I believe, Pooja Dust, I think, titled "I'm bad at coding, bracket, my software engineering journey." Let's get started.
I'm actually pretty bad at coding. I didn't start coding in high school or enter any competitive programming competitions. I didn't write my first line of code until college, and even then I felt pretty meh about it.
Also, you know how he said that she hasn't been coding in high school and stuff. I think in UK it's secondary school and A levels or something. I know so many of people who enter uni that they don't know. You just need to know basic maths, or you need to have GCSE maths and A level maths. I think in America it's high school maths, and yeah, you just need to have maths major, I believe. Then you could figure out coding, because it's basically logic, isn't it? So you just need a maths background, or physics since it's applied to maths, or any maths background, then it's fine.
It was a way into getting more freedom outside of work by earning more money and landing a stable job. That's it. I never really stopped to think whether I liked coding until I was encouraged to let go of my preconceived notions about programming and realizing that it takes focused effort and learning for things to finally
that's
click.
true.
If you're in a position where you feel like you're struggling,
And also, you shouldn't take up coding or become a computer scientist or software engineer. If you don't like coding, you shouldn't do it just for the money, because you will struggle and you won't enjoy the thing. You don't find the enjoyment of when you're solving a problem or solving a puzzle. You won't get that enjoyment, and you're not actually happy with your life. So it's better to just, if you like solving problems, if you like fixing logic stuff, then you should be a software developer. You shouldn't do it just for the money.
even the most basic concepts of programming, you are not alone. I was there, and sometimes I still need to battle imposter syndrome to feel like I belong in the industry. Back when I first started college, programming was nowhere near my radar of things I wanted to attempt. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I still had to take an intro to programming class as a biomedical engineering major. We learned about object-oriented programming and structuring code in classes. Basically,
so you learn coding in biomedical engineering, something? But sure. So I guess nowadays every course is implementing coding as an essential requirement, I think, or essential thing, since it's useful in the future. It's better. I think it is better for everyone to know coding. So that's the only job that will last in the future, since everything can go into AIs and robotics or something like that. All the job will be taken over except developers and coders who actually controls and manage the systems, right? So, yeah.
Code more efficient and recyclable. Shout out to inheritance. At the time, I used Java as a programming language in a small but powerful.
Inheritance isn't recycle, it's just a parent to child. So I don't understand why it's recyclable, but yeah, inheritance when you borrow the abstract and behaviors of a parent class into a child, right? That's what I mean.
Eclipse. And honestly, I hated it. I had
IDE,
no idea what
Eclipse.
encapsulation or polymorphism was. I didn't know what.
IDE Eclipse is good when you start, but I would recommend was IntelliJ by JetBrains.
Difference between overriding and overloading was, and throwing exceptions. Do you throw an exception and then catch it, or was it the other way around? What came first, the catch or the throw?
Try catch.
Well, the throw would have to come before the catch, but if you haven't caught anything, how do you know how to throw it? Anyways, I just wanted to make
It's try catch exception.
colorful UIs.
So yeah, so it's basically you try something. If there's an error, it catches the error. Then if that error is caught, do the exception instead of that, basically.
Fundamentals. Eventually, I did what any other struggling college student would do when they weren't really doing well in class. I started going to TA
Let's skip this advertisement.
Wait, TA sessions? I'm pretty sure you were blacked out drunk all of freshman year. There's no way you went to those. Yeah, okay, so I did slack off a bit my freshman year, I guess. But that came to bite me in the butt when
but I thought she was doing medical engineering or something like that, right? So I'm confused with that American structure, as I mentioned in the last video, but yeah, let's continue.
First C in chemistry. I quickly realized that the biomedical engineering life wasn't for me.
Oh, biomedical engineering.
Back on the one coding class I took. Remember the Intro to Object-Oriented Programming class I mentioned earlier? Well, yeah, I got a B- in it, so not great, but also not terrible for someone who put the bare minimum effort into classes that year. I quickly started to realize two things. A, I'm not that good at coding, and B, I just want to survive getting to a computer science degree long enough to start making six figures. I know, a very noble thing. So fast forward.
This is a thing, like, for me, I always wanted to be a developer, so that's why, like, since I was a kid, I always chose a path to be a computer scientist or a developer. So since GCSE and A-levels in the UK, I have done computer science since the beginning, and I enjoyed it. So, whereas she just does it to get the six figures in America, whereas in the UK you don't get six figures, but yeah. But it's like, why? Like, I would always advise, do what you like. Do something that you will enjoy in like 50 years of just doing it. Like, for her, I feel like she would just quit after maximum 10 or 20 years. She would just get bored of computer science since she doesn't enjoy it, right? But I don't know.
It's my sophomore and junior years. I was taking classes like discrete math, intro to algorithms, and numerical analysis. I kind of glazed over those prerequisites, but finally came alive during two classes. The first was data structures and algorithms.
Very important.
Now, if you're currently grinding LeetCode, you may have a slightly different view of data structures and algorithms. But for me, it had a similar effect to calculus when I was first learning that. Calculus was like a magic
computer science is applied mathematics, so everything you learn, every concept that you're going to learn in computer science is applied maths. So yeah, if you did maths in the previous, I did GCSE maths and was a further maths in GCSE as well, and I did IB higher and mathematics for A levels. So because of that, like my fundamental is like my foundation is solid with mathematics. So because of that, I could build upon in physics, computer science, and any applied mathematics.
Trigonometry, algebra, geometry, and just basic arithmetic.
It's application of mathematics.
Up until then, I had no idea why I was even learning about the properties of an obtuse or scaling triangle. Similarly, data structures combine logical reasoning, discrete math, and yes, even the dreaded object-oriented programming into one beautiful monolith.
Yeah,
it finally started to become more fun to understand what a binary search tree was, or even how to recurse through a graph structure using the A-star algorithm. Fast forward a bit more, and I took another amazing class.
A-star algorithm, in short, is like a depth first and breadth first algorithm combined, basically, to make it more efficient.
My interest, Intro to Artificial Intelligence. Now, when you think of artificial intelligence, you may picture self-serving robots that annihilate humans off of the face of the earth. But in reality, they do pretty boring and mundane tasks by just adapting their functionality based on how...
Also, nowadays, everything is like all the minimum tasks that you do on the phone and your laptop, everything is sent to an artificial intelligence or a neural network that computes everything for you to make like the experience and the efficiency of the hardware more efficient and more faster and less time consuming. So every like small task is sent to an AI now. And nowadays.
Their strategy when they learn something new. This is where I learned how to use neural networks for pattern recognition and created a machine learning algorithm to play Mancala against myself.
And classify.
Spoiler alert, the computer beat me 99% of the time. I was feeling pretty good until I landed my first internship. The internship was at a small company in Minnesota called Delegate. It was a fun summer. I created a tool to analyze employee and manager interactions at restaurants such as McDonald's, Taco Bell, and KFC. But I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't really understand what Razor code was, and I mostly used C# in the .NET framework.
That's also another issue. Like, I know so many developers who doesn't understand what they're doing because most of them just search on Google or like Stack Overflow and just copy and paste, right? But that doesn't work in all scenarios. And when you, especially when you get a job, always like when you're being a freelancer and when you're working for some client's requirement, you're not going to find their solution online since the client is building a business or so, like a multi-million-dollar business, and they want to come up with something niche, right? So it's better, and they want to do something unique, and it's not already existing in the market. So if you're a developer and working for that client, you're not going to find the solution online. So it's about like when you're working with them, you have to use your own brain, your own knowledge, and develop them, right? So it's better to enjoy them, learn as you progress, and technology is advancing on a regular basis. For example, now I think Java 15 is already out, but we're still using Java 8 because everyone's using Java 8. That's the main reason why you could do your work in Java 15, but no one does.
This was the first time that I was introduced to concepts such as the CI/CD process, creating unit and functional tests, Agile Methodology, as well as just understanding how to deploy code into the different environments and be versatile enough to take criticism when my code wasn't good. This was the start of understanding.
That's the main thing. So you should always learn from your peers. And when someone gives you a PR or like a feedback on your pull request or PR, you should always take it as granted, right? Because you're learning from your mistake, and someone is letting you know that you made a mistake in this line, this column or something in this section, and you're learning from that mistake. And you should always be down to learning, right? That's the main concept.
What it takes to be a software engineer. Being a software engineer meant way more than just coding. It meant understanding high-level abstractions of systems.
Like planning should take up most of your time, because if you plan everything properly, implementation is only like, I think 1/4 of your planning, and testing is basically another quarter. So it's like your implementation should be the shortest out of your planning, or like from that list.
What to code and when. Anyways, back to the internship. I felt like I was being productive, yet I didn't have a deep understanding of what was going on. Essentially, I was just going
Okay,
through the
let's
motions.
pause for a minute. Make sure you like the video for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to keep up to date with my channel. Okay, let's continue the video.
To be honest, I had applied to places like US Bank and Target whenever I would go to the career fair, but I could never pass their interviews because I would get so much anxiety when I was asked to code something in front of other people. I felt like the interviewers were staring into
Yeah, so that's like a common issue, right? So I think for that it's better to do like hack or rank, or like just work in a group and just try to solve something. So when you're working in a group, you always, someone in the group will always have an idea, or like when you have an idea, you have to code in front of them. And when you're coding like a group of like 10 people behind you just staring you down while you're typing, after that you slowly get over the anxiety and just like building your confidence. It's all about just gaining more confidence in your programming skill.
my soul. I just never ended up doing that well to meet their bar. And forget about applying to places like Facebook, Google, or Microsoft. The lines for these companies would always extend way past the entrance doors of the career fair. It was always so
It's always
intimidating
popular.
to see
That's the
people's
thing.
resumes. I was just an average B student that wanted to desperately secure a job, but there was no way that I could compete with those other students. I was feeling my lowest as I imagined that I would never be a great programmer. Just one that was okay enough to squeak by and maybe, just maybe.
This is the thing, like I don't care what other people think about like if I'm a good programmer and like stuff. You should know, and you should believe that you are the great, or you are a great programmer. So like that's the thing, like because I enjoy it, I always know that I like doing what it's done, so I don't care about what other people think. Oh, you're like, you could write this code in like 2 lines, why'd you write it in 5? I was like, I don't care, because I'm learning every time I do something. It's like practice makes perfect, so you just keep on practicing, and in the future, like let's say in 10 years in the future, you will be great, right? So it's just like all about, it's just the experience that you gain as you go on.
You get an okay paying job. Well, after that initial reaction, things started to change a bit. I landed a job at Target. At this point, I had a little more confidence in my interviewing skills since I had now worked for over a year as a software engineer. Now, this is where everything changed. I went through a program called the TLP, Technology
Okay, and then this
Leadership
advertisements,
Program,
let's skip that.
that gave me a chance to do 2 6-month rotations on different teams. Kind of
That's
like
good.
2
So it's like you're
internships,
changing with
and
different
then
products,
choose
right?
a final
So it's
placement at the end of the year. It was during this time that I learned the concept of the growth mindset. Now, a growth mindset is usually contrasted with a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset just means that you and I have a fixed innate ability, natural abilities when it comes to a profession, and there's not much room for variation or growth. But with a growth mindset, everyone starts at 0 and must learn and fail in order to understand and
Besides, it's a
concepts.
growing
At
topic,
Target,
growing
I was told
technology.
that I was given the room to learn and grow without much pressure to be insanely productive in my first year on the job. Instead of expecting immediate quantifiable results, it was made clear that we, the TLPers in the program, were there to learn as much as possible so that we could be...
Also, when you're working as a company, it's like a collaborative work, isn't it? So you're always working with some team to get like a task done. So when you're working in a team, it's really useful just like learning or like taking some techniques from your peers and just adapting into your own work.
better engineers in our final placement. As soon as I was given permission to switch my mindset to how can I prove my value to this company, into how can I learn as much as possible.
That's the main thing.
I was
It's all
finally
about
able to
learning,
let go of my
improving.
fixed mindset and
So
realize that
your enemy is yourself. It's like, how can I learn from today to tomorrow? So tomorrow I should have made at least 5% improvement, or I should have gained at least an extra knowledge or extra technique from yesterday. That's what you're doing.
Coder didn't mean having a natural talent for coding. It meant accepting that everyone sucks at coding in the beginning, and the only way to get good at it, and really anything for that matter, is to be okay with sucking at it. It's okay not to understand something, and it's okay to ask stupid questions. In fact, stupider the question, you're being...
But it's always like never giving up and just keep on doing repetition and just trying again, and like picking up techniques as you go on, and that's what it is.
Vulnerable enough to admit to yourself that you need something to learn by, and B, you're actively pursuing knowledge and learning from it rather than pretending that you know something already. I always thought that these companies hired me for the knowledge that I had, but rather they were hiring me
for the potential that you give and your interest in learning the new technology. That's what they're hiring for. And your like the eagerness of you trying to like learn something new. That's the main reason, isn't it?
Potential of what I could learn and then bring to the table afterwards. So equipped with this new mindset, I went into every meeting with curiosity and a lust for learning something new. It was my final placement where I finally met an amazing mentor that was able to further instill this love for learning in me. We had a coding book club where we would read a chapter of The Joy of Kotlin every week and discuss our learnings.
That's
we would
good.
meet with other TLPs and eventually my own
It's like
mentees
the
to
more
experiment
people
and
that
try
you
out
hang out with
different
are coding
variations
and
of
let
the
the brain
problem
say you
we're
absorb
trying
their
to solve
knowledge.
for the sake of learning something new and potentially optimizing our solutions. We were told to take our time and truly try to understand the fundamentals instead of just finding the
that's it. It's having it's all about having a solid foundation to the fundamentals of like anything, isn't it? Then you could just always build on top. It's like building blocks. When you have a solid foundation, you could always add stuff onto it, and it should stay. It shouldn't collapse if you have a solid foundation.
This room for growth and learning is where my love and competence for coding skyrocketed. I was finally becoming really confident in my ability to code, mostly because I was just giving room to breathe and learn without any pressure. Eventually, I set my sights even higher with newfound knowledge and landed a job at Microsoft, a company that 18-year-old me never would have imagined.
Microsoft is one of the big five.
Thankfully, I still feel the same push to grow and learn, the psychological safety net, in order to eventually become a more productive engineer. Sure, I'm using a different language, framework, libraries, etc., but I'm still given the room to...
Also, it doesn't matter. If you just know one language, like fully, or like if you're solid with one language, you could convert into any other languages. It's nothing. It's not like you shouldn't know all the languages in the world, because that's impossible, right? But if you just have one solid understanding of one language fully, like from page 1 to the last page, if you understand it like fully, the whole block, where you could just write your own book on that language, then you should be fine. Moving on, you could learn any other language, any framework, any APIs, any library, anything's fine.
And learn so that productivity becomes a consequence of the potential that I've been given room for, rather than the priority that many companies seek. The whole point of this long-winded way of explaining my journey to coding is to tell you that it gets better. I know it's hard at first, and sometimes it can be intimidating to see people that may come off as naturally good, but I'm telling you, there's a place for everyone at this table. If I can do it...
And also, there is a thing called naturally good. They have practiced before, or like, you can't be born as an amazing coder. They have, like, people, it's just when you start off, so some people start when they're 5 years old, where they just like work with Scratch, Python, and just build, like they had like some experience with it and just build on, right? You could, as for example, someone with 0 experience joined to university, and someone with at least like 2 years went to university. At that moment, they might seem that they're naturally gifted, but they're not. They just had 2 years of experience, whereas you have not. This is that, isn't it?
All it takes is a little faith in yourself, and honestly, just being okay with starting with a blank slate and slowly painting that flawed but beautiful journey for yourself.
I think that was a good video. Well, that video is useful to many people in the world, because like she converted from, I think, biomedic engineering to computer science, right? Computer science students. So, like that video is useful. So like you don't have to have like a sort of a computer science background. Using the maths background, you could like change it to that and like build slowly into it. It's all about repetition. Just keep on practicing mathematics and applying that concept into programming and coding. So that should work well for that. Yep. I think that's it. Make sure you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.